Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Pranamya Ramabhidamatmadhipadam Jagat Prasuti Sthiti Sanyamayanam Tadatmakan Shankara Purvakan Gurun Mayopadeshartha Vibhaga Uchyate. So let us read the sixth passage. Acharyastu uhapoha grahanadharana samadamadaya anugrahadi sampannaha labdhagamaha drishtradishtabhogeshu anasaktaha tyakta sarva karma sadhanaha brahmavid brahmani sthitaha abhinna vrittaha dambhadarpa kuhaka sadhya maya mahatsarya antahankar mamattvaya dosha varjitaha maya mahatsarya antahankar mamattvaya dosha varjitaha kevala paranugraha prayojanaha vidyopayogarthi purvam upadished. एवं आचार्य कृत्यमुक्त्वा तस्य लक्षणम आह. गुरुणा शिष्यं कृतार्थं कर्तुं प्रवृत्तेन. So the pravritti of the guru is make the shishya kritartha, fulfilled, enabling him to achieve the purpose of his life. Upadesha karya eva. That guru should necessarily give the upadesha, impart the teaching to the disciple. Evam acharya kritva uktva. Having said now what the acharyas should do, tas lakshanam aha. What should be lakshanam? The natural traits or characteristics of acharya, the teacher. This passage tells us acharyastu uhapoha grahana dharana shamadama daya anugrahadi sampannaha. So first lakshana or first character of acharya is he should possess the uha apoha. Then the Tikakara explains what each one of these words means. So let us look at the Tika. So when here the author describes all these characteristics of Acharya, then what does it mean? That's what the Tikakara first explains. Etacca tattva jignasuna adhikarana evam vida acharya upagantavya nanyadusha iti darshayitam natu आचार्येण एवं विध गुणेन भवितव्यमिति नियोगः क्रियते तस्य कृतार्थत्वात् इति द्रष्टव्यम् एतच्च तत्त्वजिज्ञासना अधिकारिण. So this is for the guidance of the tattva jignasu, the one who is desirous of knowing tattva, the aspirant, adhikarana, and one who possesses the adhikaritvam, yogyatvam, the fitness, the qualifications described earlier. That an aspirant who possesses these qualifications, that he must approach the teacher, it was said. So what kind of a teacher he should approach? Evam vida acharya upagantavya. Meaning that one should approach a teacher of this nature, which is being described in this passage. That one should not go to just anybody and anybody. That the aspirant also should examine the teacher, because this is the lifetime pursuit. And here the aspirant is going to submit himself totally to the teacher. That is called the Tadvidhi Pranipatena. Offering long prostration is totally submitting himself to the teacher. Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. I am your disciple. Tvam Prapannam, I am surrendered to you. Shadimam, please teach me, please guide me. Swam Bhagavad Shochami, Tam Mam Bhagavan Shokasya Param Tarayatu. Or sir, Venerable Sir, I am grieving. May yourself please help me cross this ocean of grief. In this manner, disciple completely places himself at the feet of the teacher, at the disposal of the teacher. Now when this is done, the act of surrender, it must be a mature act. Meaning that one must always be very, very astute or careful and perceptive before disposing, before placing oneself at the disposal of someone else. So it is this also the aspirant is to see whether the one to whom he is approaching and surrendering and accepting as a guide, whether that person also is fit or not, that also the aspirant should see. This is what the Tikakara says here. So all these qualifications of the teacher that are described here are meant for the guidance of the student. That he should look for these traits or characteristics in the teacher to whom he is going to approach, meaning he is going to surrender. Nanyadusha, not someone who does not possess these qualifications. To an unqualified person, one should not surrender, that's for sure. Because this is not a simple thing. This is, a lifetime thing. This is one's own life, depends upon this. And if the teacher is not right, understand it's a lifetime relationship. And the most important relationship that a person has also. It's not an ordinary relationship. It is more important than even the relationship that the spouses have with it. That's the closest relationship, of course. And most important normally. So how careful one is in choosing a spouse. Look for various qualifications. In the olden days, go to an astrologer and compare the charts and see how many points are matching, etc. So at least so the idea is that compatibility should be there. Between the persons who wish to marry each other, there must be as much compatibility as possible. Here also, this is even more intimate relationship than when the spouses. Because there you can do away without necessarily revealing yourself completely. There may not be a total honesty even between the spouses. But after all, that relationship is not that one spouse is going to liberate the other one. Of course, it is a relationship of love, and greater the honesty is there, openness is there, certainly better it is. So ideal relationship is where there is total openness. But in case it is not there, you can still be okay, if it is not there in total measure. But here this should be in the total measure. Only when, as the qualifications say, only when the disciple is open before the teacher, then teacher is an opportunity to understand what the person is going through, what the difficulties are if there are any, and how to help that person. Otherwise, the things there are if problems inside and you don't get any help, in which case his whole pursuit also may not become successful. And also it's an emotional bond as well. There is an intellectual bond, an emotional bond, a spiritual bond. At all levels there is a bond here. The teacher communicates at the intellectual level, of course. It's not purely intellectual. Teacher communicates himself really. And teacher is everything. Is an intellectual self, an emotional self, a spiritual self. Ananya prokte gatiratanaste. So Upanishad says that the teacher also is completely open. Ananya prokte, he also communicates the truth as his own self. And also the self of the disciple. So when that is what is self is just total oneness, meaning that here the total identity is ultimately to be achieved. The identity doesn't exist on the day one, but idea is that the teacher communicates his own self in so many words, and disciple receives also his own self, or knows his own self through those words. Where the self of the teacher is self of the disciple, and the self of the disciple is self of the teacher. This is something very special. And therefore one should be very careful. In choosing, I do not know how you choose and what is it, whether there is a choice available or not. People go to Kumbh Mela and see so many Mahatmas are there, and then they choose. So that is like an exhibition, like a supermarket where you make some choice. But I do not know, maybe this choice is already there someplace. And so it happens. But regardless, even if it happens, love at some first sight or some sight is there. And so then also one should be perceptive. And one should... So even if the surrender doesn't take place usually in one stop or one step, it may. Depends. Because this may be an ongoing relationship, who knows? In as much as there is a pursuit that is going on from one lifetime to the other, it's conceivable that even this relationship also is there. If the marriage is done in heavens for 7 births, that's what they say, at least in Indian scriptures. This fellow says, please don't do that, I don't want 7 births. I want to be liberated in this. That's why people want to be liberated in this birth itself. We will be stuck again, Whatever that is, but here at least it's conceivable. So sometimes they tell us jocularly, Swami, you will take birth until I am liberated, So it is said here that one should be one should be considered. You must take into consideration. After all, you don't know what the teacher is anyway. But still, whatever traits are visible on the surface, that's how we can judge at the most, if we have to judge. So, evam vidah acharya upagantavya nanyadushrahiti, the teacher like this alone one should approach and one should take refuge into, and not just anybody else. Itadarshaitum. So, these qualifications of the acharya are described here, not for the acharya, that hey, you must be like this. They describe for the student aspirant, that when you approach a teacher, look for these things. Look for these traits or qualifications. No, the acharya evam vidagunena bhavitavyamiti. So burden is not placed on the teacher that hey, you must live up to these qualifications. That you must display this qualification, you must possess them. So that kind of vidhi or enjoyment is not done on acharya. Only because he has gone beyond that, that's why. So niyoga na kriyate. Niyoga means what? This kind of adesha. The enjoyment, that is not enjoined. He is not directed. He is not commanded by this text here. Hey, you have to be like this. Why? Tasya kritarthatvat. Because he is expected to be this already. Kritarthatvat, because he is completely at home with himself. Kritartha means one who is artha. All the purpose has been achieved. So krutahartha yasya or yena sad, one who is artha, the paramartha, at the end of the life. Arthate the artha, that which one is seeking in life, kruta has already been accomplished. That being the case, these qualifications will be naturally manifesting in a person as person is more and more comfortable with oneself. Basically, all the problems arise because of the lack of comfort with one's own self. And this knowledge is all centered upon the self. We are constantly told what your true nature is. You are not what you take yourself to be. You are like this. Look for that. Meaning that don't judge yourself as you are doing right now. If you have to judge yourself that you are Brahman, you are Satchidananda, so judge yourself that way and look for that. See the fact that this is what you are. And ignore or let go any other notions that you are entertaining about yourself, just drop them. Because all of them are a product of ignorance, that's not what you are. So all along the focus of contemplation is the true nature of the self. Because we always contemplate upon ourselves anyway. Who I am, that undercurrent is always going on every moment. And that is where Vedanta wants us to in fact, focus upon. That focus upon the constant undercurrent that is going on in your mind, that I am so and so, I am a karta, bhokta, sukhi, dukkhi, that's going on all right. There see the fact that you are Satchidananda. Karmani akarmayah pashyet. So one who sees the akarta, where the notion of kartrutvam is there. So basically Vedanta teaches us the way of contemplating our true nature of the self. Because we always contemplate, meaning that we always think about ourselves, that's always there in the center. Because self is self-revealing, so you cannot escape. The Atma also reveals itself, Anatma also reveals itself, and that aviveka, the lumping together is naturally there. So since that ignorance brings about lumping together of the Atma and Anatma, and therefore Atma is as though contaminated by the limitation of Anatma. See that fact that that is not you. So this is basically what Vedanta does. So day in and day out, until this happens, until all these things I superimpose upon myself. I'm torturing myself, that's what it is. By superimposing all these limitations and defects upon myself, I'm constantly torturing, that's a samsara. So self-torture is samsara. When self-torture is there, then anybody else also becomes capable of torturing me. That's what happens. But anyway, so this is the kritarthata. That thus when you let go things that you're holding on to because of ignorance, because of identification, that's what Vedanta teaches, what to let go. This nitya, ihamutra, the phalabhoga viraga, the letting go of the attachment or fascination or pleasure is a simple letting go. But basically, ultimately what to let go, all these are notions about ourselves arising from identification. So, one who has accomplished that is called kritartha, because there is nothing else to be done other than just becoming free from the imposed bondage. So kritarthatvat, when you are comfortable with yourself, and one cannot be comfortable with oneself unless one is complete. Unless when there is ananda or wholeness, one cannot be totally comfortable. So apparently here is the person who is kritartha. And so all these traits that I talked about are already there. But then everything, all the dimensions of the teacher are not visible to the disciple, because we don't have that kind of perception or that kind of depth within ourselves to be able to perceive that. But what we can perceive are the external signs, whether these things are there or not. So not only is Brahmavid, but Brahmavid Brahmani sthitah. He is a knower of Brahman, so Shrotriya Brahmanishta. So not only teacher should be Brahmanishta, abiding in Brahman, Shrotriya. He must be very well versed with the scriptures also. Meaning that he has gained that knowledge, not only knowledge, but the whole parampara, the tradition he has got. The tradition of teaching also comes down. So not only you get from your teacher the knowledge about yourself, you also get how he communicates. So the teaching tradition also comes to you. Which then with that you help other people. So Shrotriyatvam, in the teacher this must be there. For fulfillment in the life, you don't have to be a Shrotriya necessarily. You need not have that the facility of the scriptural knowledge and all the reasoning and everything that they will be actually telling us. All those tools one doesn't need necessarily for one's own self. But when you have to communicate, help somebody, then all these tools are needed. So what tools does the teacher need to be able to help the aspirant is what is being told here. And then therefore the student looks for whether these things are there or not. So then, Acharyas uha poha sampanna. Sampanna endowed with, possessing uha and apoha. So, in this particular context of Acharya, see normally uha and apoha, uha means the ability to reason, to establish your point of view. And apoha is the ability to reason, to refute the opposite point of view. That's uha and apoha. In the case of a teacher now, the uha and apoha are interpreted somewhat differently. So let us see what the Tikakara says. Shishyena anuktasyapi uhanam uhaha. Shishyena anuktasyapi. So even though the Shishya, the disciple, does not express it in words, what his needs are, or what his difficulties are. And here basically the spiritual difficulty we are talking about. As far as the worldly difficulties are concerned, then it's a different kind of a thing. But then as far as the spiritual difficulties are there, emotional difficulties are there. Basically in this context, the spiritual, meaning the questions that may arise, the doubts may arise as you listen to teacher. Or questions may arise. Sometimes that clarity may not be there, in which case questions also arise. Sometimes, sometimes the mind also questions, meaning opposes what is being said. Sometimes that also happens. How can it be? So various things may arise as the person listens. All these various kind of processes may take place in the mind of a person. That I'm not clear. What did you say? Or you said this, I understand, but then this is what I heard from somewhere else, so then the doubt may be there. Or I understand what you say, but how can it be? The question may be there. All of these things are there in the mind of the student. When the communication takes place, the teacher has he communicates. And the disciple is just sitting there basically. But then that also he communicates by these very chesta, the expressions on the face, and by some other kind of behavioral pattern. So in a way the disciple also communicates. If that person is with the teaching anyway. If you're not with the teaching, then it's a different matter. But if you are with the teaching, then that communication takes place. Whether it's gone through or not, or it has created some doubt, or lack of clarity, or some reaction, also may be there. So anuktasyapi, even though the disciple, because there may not be an occasion for the disciple to say these things, so even when the teaching is going on, the teacher should be clearing up all these things that are arising in the mind of the student. The questions arise, doubts arise, and he should be clarifying them. Anuktasyapi. So even though these things, like doubts, like questions, like lack of clarity, even though they may not be expressed by the disciple in his words, uhanam, inferring, guessing, this is what must be so. So very often in Bhagavad Gita we find that Lord Krishna begins a discourse without Arjuna asking a question. So the Bhashyakara will tell us, what is it that makes Lord Krishna initiate the dialogue, discourse? Usually, the Upadesha is given only when the question is asked. Na prashta kasyajit bruyad. That one should not necessarily volunteer this unless there is asked for. But then sometimes you find that the disciple doesn't ask and still the teacher continues. That's because he perceives that this doubts. And so when Lord Krishna says in the 7th chapter, so Krishnam Brahma, what is it? Sadhidayavadi bhutam mam, sadhiyagvedu. So ye viduhu. Te brahma tad viduh krishnam adhyatmam karma, etc. So all the adhyatma, karma, brahma, what is all this? So when Lord Krishna uses his words, he sees that this Arjuna is wondering what do these words mean. So then sometimes Arjuna may ask, sometimes may not ask. So based on what is being told, what possible questions may arise. So sometimes the questions are asked by the student, sometimes they may not be. After the 8th chapter, when all these, so he said how he goes to Brahmaloka and so forth, you can see that this Svecha Mrityu, etc. looks like an impossible task. Is that the way to get liberated? Is there any other way? Says there is a way. This is the upasana, or the meditation, but there is the path of knowledge also. That should be told. So then Lord Krishna will himself initiate the discourse by telling what Arjuna wants to know or what he should know. Sometimes the student may not even ask, but the teacher realizes what this fellow should know. So either what is the question that is contained in the mind, or the teacher thinks that this is what they should know. All this perception is expected from a teacher. That's called uhanam. Shishyena anuktasyapi tadapekshitasya. So it is not said, but what is intended, what is expected in the mind of the student, what he needs, what he expects. So in uhanam, guessing that, inferring that, and responding to that. Meaning the teaching also is a response to what the student needs, even though it may be unexpressed. So there is uhaha. Then what is the apohaha? That is being explained. Upadesha samasamayam Shishya pratipatti anukula apurva yukti kalpanam va. Or uha also can mean this. Upadesha samasamayam. At the very time when the upadesha is given, at the very time that the teacher is imparting this, knowledge or instruction to the disciple, that very same time, Shishya pratipatti anukula apurva yukti kalpanam va. Sometimes you find that the disciple is not getting what it is that you are saying. The apurva yukti, some new yukti, some new method of reasoning. So kalpanam, in the mind of the teacher, this should happen simultaneously. That if he sees that a given line of argument is not quite going through, is not really creating the effect that is expected, the understanding is not there. Meaning that the line of argument that the teacher has adopted does not create the understanding that should be there. Then apurva yukti, some new yukti must be there. So new way of reasoning also should occur to the teacher. Kalpanam, there and then, not later on. So upadesha samasamayam. While the upadesha is given at that very same time, because just as by the very presence the student is communicating to the teacher. So teacher may perceive that here is that somehow the understanding is not coming, clarity is not there. So a different way you explain. That doesn't work. Explain a different way. So you find how the teachers are coming up with different examples, different approaches, even in the Upanishad also. Sometimes same theme is repeated in Kathopanishad. Every Valli comes up with a different approach to communicate the same truth. So different examples are given. The example of a chariot is given. Example of the tree of samsara is given. Example of fire, etc. entering is given. Example of the Atma remaining, being in the city of 11 gates. So every Valli start with a different approach, different example, different way of contemplation. Therefore, to help the student then, that is how the teacher comes up with, his mind comes up with, right there and then, the apurva yukti kalpanam. So new yukti is a new method of reasoning, new approach is also kalpanam. That should occur to the teacher. That is also called uha. So uha means, two meanings are given. To understand what is the need of the disciple, even though it may not be expressed, or in order that when the teacher finds that the communication is not quite taking place and coming up with the new ways of communicating, so that pratipatti anukula, shishya pratipatti anukula, so that pratipatti or knowledge or understanding takes place in the shishya, the disciple. Then apoha, the next one. Shishyasya mithyagrahana apakarana samarthyam apoha. Now all these words are interpreted only in the context of the communication of the Guru and the Shishya. Normally apoha means the ability to reason, to refute the opponent's point of view. But here sometimes the disciple himself may become the opponent, or mithya grahanam. The student may misunderstand or understand wrongly. Not impossible. So either person understands it as it is communicated, or does not understand, or understands wrongly. So either pratipatti is there, vipratipatti is there, or apratipatti is there, vipratipatti is there, or pratipatti. Apratipatti not understanding, vipratipatti opposite understanding, pratipatti right understanding. So this the teacher may know even from the question of the student also, mithya grahanam, that this student has understood it wrongly. So that can happen, because after all we are listening and interpreting what we are told based on our own present understanding. What it is from one understanding to the other, from that to the other. That's how the unfoldment takes place. So what is being told to me, I am going to understand that in the context of what my present understanding is, or present ability to understand is, or present notions are. And therefore it is possible that the mind may understand something wrongly. Then, mithya grahana apakarana samarthyam, the teacher must have samarthya, the ability to remove that wrong understanding and bring in the right understanding. That's called the apoha. So the uha means the ability to come up with the method of creating right understanding, and apoha is eliminating the wrong understanding that may have arisen both ways. Or, says further, siddhanta pratipaksha nirakarana samarthyam va. So second interpretation is conventional one. Shishya pratipatti anukula, so argue reasoning that communicates the siddhanta. Apoha is siddhanta pratipaksha nirakarana samarthyam va. Siddhanta pratipaksha. So whatever siddhanta is, whatever is the ultimate conclusion of Vedanta is, that's called siddhanta. Siddhanta. And so the anta is the conclusion or the vision of Vedanta. So what the vision of Vedanta is, pratipaksha. There are always people who have different views, and sometimes in opposite views also, or different views. So, nirakarana samarthyam va, the ability to resolve or refute the pratipaksha, refute the opponent, or resolve the different views that this may have, to make him see how this view is based on some wrong understanding. So not only the teacher should be able to explain the siddhanta, but should also understand the pratipaksha, meaning the opponent. And in order to resolve or refute the opponent point of view, one should know where that fellow is coming from. Opponent is a person who is a certain conclusion, and a person arrives at a conclusion based on some process of reasoning. Whatever conclusions we have right now are also the outcome of the process of reasoning. So what we call opponent, Sankhya may be there, Mimamsaka is there, Vaisheshika is there, Bauddha, whoever they are there. They have arrived at their conclusions, their own siddhanta, their own conclusions, based on a certain process of reasoning that they have adopted. And having adopted that process of reasoning, they have arrived at conclusions that are quite different from the conclusion that Vedanta teaches. It's not enough to say that that fellow is wrong, but we have to make the student see how that is wrong, And therefore, we must know where that person is coming from, what is the process of reasoning involved there, because which this conclusion arrived at. Like Sankhyas, for example, tell you that Atmas are many. As many living beings are there, as many Atmas are there. Why is it so? Because Sankhya's argument is, if Atma is one, then everybody should feel things same way. If one is happy, everybody should be happy. If one is unhappy, everybody should be unhappy. Atma is one. Therefore, in order to reconcile with our experiences of diversity, that everyone seems to be feeling differently from everybody else, and that cannot be unless there are many Atmas. Therefore, to be able to understand or to be able to account for the diversity in experiences, to account for it, they come up with this conclusion that Atmas are many. Then what does Vedanta say? How do you account for the diversity? We say that the minds are many and that is where the happiness and unhappiness takes place. Happiness and unhappiness not centered on the Atma, they are centered on the mind. So there is diversity of mind, not of Atma. Meaning that to explain this diversity that we find, you don't have to imagine the multiplicity of Atma, it is enough that there are minds, there are many, and that can explain the diversity. So we should understand why does Sankhya think that Atmas are many, where his assumption is wrong, what the right fact is, and that's how explain why Vedanta says what it says. So Vedanta of course says, Upanishads declare, Atma Vedam, all of this is Atma, Ekam Eva, one without a second, but we have to provide reasoning. The teacher should provide the reasoning, or the Vedanta Siddhanta system provides the reasoning to explain what the Upanishad says. So Siddhanta, Pratipaksha, Nirakana, Samarthyam va. So whatever Pratipaksha are there, opponents are there, if they are not resolved, then they may continue to influence the mind of the student. And you say that also is right and this is also right, and then doubts may be created, confusion may be created. Therefore, that's why you find the Vedanta teachers taking up the different standpoints. Our Swami would always talk about Christian. These are now Sankhyas and Vaisheshikas that have no consideration now because they are not existing or their view doesn't matter to us. What matters what Christians are thinking, what Islam is thinking, what this is thinking, what the prevalent views are there. You will take them up and refute them. Refute them and show that they are not right. On one hand you say that there is Father in heaven. On the other hand you say that God is all pervading, all pervasive. How can you confine God into heaven in one place and then say He is all pervasive? So that seems to be here a contradiction, which you then have to bring up. That you will have eternal dinner with God, that's their moksha, the concept. The Christianity also has so many sects are there, by the way. Thousands of sects, not one or two. At least a couple of thousand different sects are there. We think they're all one, and they think Hinduism is so. Everybody has. Wherever there is freedom of thinking, there will be Islam may not have that much freedom of thinking, but they'll kill him. Still there are a few. There are at least 15, 20 in Islam also. By the way, different viewpoints are there. But Christianity is hundreds and hundreds because there is a freedom of thinking. In India there are so many because there is freedom of thinking. And so one concept, eternal dinner. No, eternal dinner, Swamiji, would not go together. If you imagine that there is real dinner with God, then he is not even, still is that the soup, the spoon of the soup is still in his hand, because if it starts, it will come to an end. Anything that starts, eternal means it does not end. If it does not end, it should not start. So dinner has not started. So eternal dinner, there cannot be dinner which is eternal. Meaning that, so there is a contradiction involved there. I mean, however they explain is a different thing, but if you listen, if you hear this expression, eternal dinner, then there is some kind of some kind of spiritual romanticism is there in all these expressions. Then we have to show that eternal and dinner cannot go together. Something like this. The idea is that that one should have also the ability to understand what different viewpoints are, and we have to take only viewpoints that are prevalent now. Shankaracharya takes a viewpoint prevalent that time. And so you find him arguing against the Mimamsakas and Bauddhas and this and that, and sometimes you go, why is he wasting time? Maybe he's wasting time from our standpoint because they are not relevant to us. We don't care what Mimamsaka thinks but that time it was important because Mimamsakas were very prominent people and very powerful people, influential people. So those who influence the mind of the people, you have to take, consider them. So because Christianity influences people, Islam may influence people, and therefore the influence may be already created or it can be created. So therefore you have to take that up and then show where the inconsistencies are. Therefore Siddhanta, Pratipaksha, Nirakarana, Samarthyam va. Samarthyam, the ability of Nirakaranam, of resolving, refuting the Pratipaksha, the opposite point of view, opposite to Siddhanta. Suha, Apoha, then Grahana, the third one. So Grahana means perception, to perceive is called Grahanam. It can be both ways, it can be at the level of sense organs. So perceiving sense objects also is called Grahanam, or the grasping in the intellect also is called Grahanam. So let's see how the word Grahanam is explained here. Shishyakrita Prashna Akshepa Vakyarthanam Sadhya Avadharana Samarthyam Grahanam. So the Shishya will ask you questions. Shishya Krita Prashna Akshepa. Sometimes the disciple may question. What question means that he may explain his opposition, let us say. His discomfort with what you are saying, because he doesn't agree with this. So sometimes the disciple may disagree with what you say. In that case, the disagreement also is expressed in words by the disciple. Or he may have a genuine question. He may need to understand something, and so he may ask a question. So whether it is a question, he is asking question or questioning you, that first of all you will understand. Questioning you means that is he expressing his opposition to what you are saying? Or question means he genuinely wants to know something. So prashna and akshepa too. Prashna is a question that is asked with a desire to know something, get a clarification of something. Or akshepa is a statement that is made questioning or expressing an opposition to what you have said. So this freedom also is given to the student here. That he can ask questions, he can oppose also. Because after all, what is important in this student should be liberated. He must gain the knowledge clearly. And unless all these things are resolved, he won't be able to have a clear understanding, or he cannot have a firm understanding. If questions have remained, doubts have remained, or the resistance remains within, then there cannot be settlement of the mind, understand? Mind cannot settle down if there is resistance to what is being said, or doubts about what is being said, or question, meaning that lack of clarity or understanding of what is being said. It is all part of ignorance. Ignorance results into lack of understanding, wrong understanding also, or doubts. So when the disciple expresses this, Sadhyo Avadhana, right away the teacher understands where the disciple is coming from. So you don't have to simply answer the question, you have to answer questioner, important is. So where does the question come? Is it coming from? Is it coming from a doubt? Coming from lack of clarity? Or coming from resistance? So there is some virodha, opposition in the mind of the student. So what it is that the student, where the question is coming from? Sadhya, right away you give the answer. Sadhya avadharana samarthyam. Sadhya, right away, immediately avadharanam. Avadharana means what? Ascertainment. Ascertainment of the meaning of the words of the student. Whether it's a question, is it a doubt? Is it an opposition? Understanding that and then answering. So this capacity on the part of the teacher to grasp where the student is coming from, what the needs of student are, is called grahanam here. Because then only your answer will be up to the point. It's like hitting the nail, on the head. Otherwise you may be hitting someplace. So if you have not understood what the purpose of the question is, then you may give elaborate lecture and that fellow doesn't get a reply because he wants to know something else. Sometimes they may not even express their question in the right way. Sometimes there is confusion, and so expression is confusion. Then you have to question the questioner. What do you mean? What do you mean? So that's how you have to make him understand. Let him get the clarity of what he wants to know. So sometimes he wants to know something, but it's not clear about what it is that he wants to know. Or he thinks that he wants to know this, but then you probe into his question. So you don't necessarily answer the question right away, but you probe into question, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? Why do you say that? So let this student then get understanding of what it is that he wants to know. And then you reply. So all of this samarthya, the capability, must be there in the teacher. Then only the communication can take place. So this is grahanam. Then dharanam, the next one. Grihitanam tesham sara avadharana purvakam pratyukti samaye smrana yogyata apadanam dharanam. So grahanam is grasping, dharanam retaining. So you must also retain when the question is being asked. At that time, grahana means you understand what is being asked. And dharana is that is retained in your mind until the question is complete. Until the answer is complete. That's called dharana. Sometimes what happens is that you start all right, then you get distracted. What did you ask? What was I saying? So sometimes, because you get so preoccupied with what you are saying, so sometimes the teacher wants to say something. He may not be in tune to the student. And therefore, it's not what you want to say, it's what he needs to learn. That's important. So the focus of the teacher always is on the student's need. And that's called dharanam. You must retain that all along. That you must remember what the question was, what the intention was behind the question. You must retain that all along until the answer is given. In between, if you forget Or he may ask 2, 3, 4 questions also, like sometimes there are so many questions. So then you may not be able to grasp it, remember it. So, says Grahitanam Tesham Sara Asara Avadharana Purvakam. So there are questions on the part of the student. So Kima Sita, so many questions Arjuna would ask. Sita Prajnasya Kya Bhasha? Samadhistasya Keshava? Siddhi Kim Prabhashita? Kima Sita Vrajeta Kim? So many questions are asked. So Lord Krishna then did not say, what was the second one? What is the third one? No. He remembers what Arjuna has asked and proceeds to answer. Sometimes answers are given in the same order. Kim tad brahma, kim adhyatma. The answers are given in the same order. In the second chapter, no, Lord Krishna chooses his own order. Because questioner may not be very clear about what these things are. And so the teacher chooses the order in which to answer the questions. So the dharana means that the teacher remembers what the student has asked. So gruhitanam tesham sara avadharana purvakam. Sara and asara. Whether the question is essential or not essential. Sometimes unessential thing also may be there. Then you don't have to spend too much time with that. So where the emphasis should be, which part of the question should be emphasized and which part doesn't have to be emphasized. So every question is not all that necessarily that profound or serious. It may be superfluous also. So Sara avasara avadharana asara avadharana purvakam. So first of all, avadharanam. This ascertainment is there on the part of the teacher as to what is Sara and Asara, what is important and not important, essential and not essential in the questions. Pratyukti samay, at the time of pratyukti, at the time of replying, smara yogyata apadanam. So smara yogyata, there must be the capacity to remember. That's why they talk of the avadhana, and so multiple. Shatavadhana is a big thing. Astavadhana even. That means 8 people are asking one after the other, and you remember. So that's a great capacity. Well, fortunately, they don't say you should have this capacity, but at least what the student is asking, that capacity should be there. So that is the avadhana, that is the dharana. So then, uha, apoha, grahana, dharana. Then Shamadhamadaya Anugrahadi Sampanna says here, Shamadhamao Vyakhyatao. You already explained Shamadhama where? In the previous passage. Where was it explained? In the context of a student, how he should possess the Shamadhama, etc. So Shama is the tranquility of the mind, or you can say control of the mind, tranquility of the mind. A mind that is tranquil is always in control. Meaning in your control. The mind, so what is meant by Shama is that the mind is your friend. It is favorable to you. It is available to you. That's the whole idea. So that you apply the mind wherever you need to, that the mind is available. That is a requirement in the context of knowledge, that you are listening to a teacher. Shama means that the mind is available. It doesn't get distracted. A mind free from distraction. Mind that enjoys, therefore, the tranquility, the subtlety, the capacity to understand. And Dhamma, of course, is a discipline at the external level, because then also you can get distracted. While the class is going on, somebody gets up from here and then everybody watches there, Means that Dhamma is not there. So that there must be discipline at the external level, that the Shama means that withdraw the mind from everything other than what is required for Shravanam. And Dhamma means the control of the sense organs from everything other than what is required for Shravanam. Otherwise, you just keep watching. Some sound is coming, listen. That means lack of Dhamma. Lack of control over the sense organs. And that also can be a big distraction. So Shama is freedom from inner distractions like ragadveshas. It can distract the mind. And Dhamma is the freedom from external distraction. Because sense organs are open and therefore they should have the ability, control to remain where they are and not get distracted by what's happening out there. So the teacher also should have that. The student should have that. The teacher also should have that. That the mind enjoys the Shama and also enjoys Dhamma, is self-control, is together, in the words of Swamiji, is together the person, organized person, together as a person. So Shama, Dhamma, Daya. See here. Daya anugrahadi sampanna. What is Daya? Daya dukyanam prati anujigruksha. Daya. Daya can be said to be, Daya means actually pity, but compassion. So, dukyanam prati anujigruksha anugrahitam yogicha. The desire to bless the person who is dukkhi. So then, next, let us read the next one also. Tadanantaram dukhyanaha dukh apakarane pravrittihi anugraha. Since daya and anugraha, both of them are used together, so there is the two meanings are given. Anugraha is dukhyanaha dukh apakarane pravrittihi. The action that you carry out for removal of the dukkha, the sorrow of the person who is sorrowful. Dukkhi means one who is in pain. It can be physical pain or it can be emotional pain, whatever kind of pain is. It's dukkhi. And dukkha-pakaranam. There is a response on your part that you reach out to help that person become free from that dukkha. That pravritti is called anugraha. Anugraha is generally translated as grace or as blessing. But here anugraha is the sympathetic response that you have towards the need of the other person. So that other person, dukkha means that there is a need. Some pain is there and therefore there is a need. And in your mind there is also a sympathy and compassion that you want to remove that dukkha. So that pravritti for removal of the dukkha is called anugraha. But when that pravritti will take place, when there is a desire to do that. So in your mind that desire should arise that, hey, you should, that this person is unhappy, that unhappiness should be removed. So you are not comfortable when somebody is unhappy. Basically for your own comfort that you do, but then somebody's discomfort makes you uncomfortable. Somebody's pain creates pain in you. In that case, there is a desire to remove the pain of that person. That is called daya. So daya is that which creates in me a desire to respond to the pain or need of the other person. Anugraha is the actual response for reaching out for removing that pain or fulfilling that need. So daya and anugraha. Anugrahadi sampanna. So what is that? What is adi? Adi shabdat upasannasya vinitasya anugrahitasya aparityago gruhyate. Adi shabdat. And sometimes we get fed up with it. It's a difficult process. It's an ongoing business, day in and day out. So therefore, some people forget it, So, parityaga, that you just give up or you let them go, you reject them. Ultimately, says, upasannasya, vinitasya, anugrahitasya. So one has taken refuge unto you. One who enjoys that vinita means who has that namrata or humility. Anugrahitasya, and to whom you have actually helped all along. Aparityaga, that someday then you just, give up this process, resign from there. So resignation from helping and, from helping in both ways. Teaching itself is a primary help. But then at emotional level, and there are all kinds of helps. And I've seen Swamiji spending hours and hours with people, counseling them, and why is it? And you get angry with that fellow. He's taking so much time of Swamiji, Sometimes at midnight, and this talk is going on, and people just boil within them. They get so angry. So what is this person, taking so much time? But then they still this is done. Hours and hours Swami must spend with people, understanding their difficulties and reaching out to them and helping them. So that, of course, the name was Dayananda, so there's no question about it. But the thing is, as I told you the other day, somebody asked Bada Swamiji, why did you give this name Dayananda? It's a common name. You should always give the name to a disciple that is uncommon, so that he will always not be confused with somebody else. Already Dayananda exists, Dayananda Saraswati is already there. Why do you give this name? I had no choice, he says, And so, because that is how he is, he's there. What other name can I give him? But, so this aparityagaha gruhyate, that you don't let them go, don't reject them, regardless of what it means to you. So the willingness to undertake whatever exertion at the personal level, it involves exertion. It involves emotional turmoil also in your own mind, because when you are communicating and understanding their emotions, very often it is you are the problem. A lot of kind of superimpositions happen, transferences happen. So teacher himself becomes a problem. Because everybody comes with their problems. And you superimpose. What happened somewhere, then sometimes we don't even understand why we are feeling the way we feel. And so I went through some experience in my childhood. And I was treated in a certain way. And many things I could not express. And there were many feelings that are all stored in there. And they did not have chance to come out. And then when you have the relation with the teacher, then more and more bond is created, more and more comfortable you feel, and more comfortable you are, more open you are, meaning that you are free to express all your problems also, and all your difficulties with that person. So what happens is that this love that is there comes out very often in a form of fighting, literally. You are like this, and all kinds of accusations are there. But that happened somewhere else. And now those things are not resolved, and they are now coming out, you see, which is a good thing, provided that the other person is mature. Otherwise, you go, the rejection will take place because you are accusing me. I haven't done this. And so many relations are ruined by this. Our Swami used to say that this transference of phenomenon that takes place, and the student may not understand. That why am I feeling the way I am feeling, and he is responsible. Happens between spouses, in fact. So between husband and wife it happens. As they live together and then slowly they like each other and that bond develops and openness comes, then everything comes out. Until then you hold on to the things. And you always present yourself as a presentable person. But then when you feel safe with a person, you know that you're not going to be rejected here, you are safe, then whatever this inside all comes out. If that person is not mature, then fighting takes place. I didn't, so accusations are there, mutual excuse, and then they break up. So many breaking ups happen. You wonder these fellows, were dating each other 5 years and 10 years and 6 months they separate. That is because all these kind of transferences take place and there were accusations take place. First positive transference and negative transference. Positive means this is God, nobody will like this. There's a positive transference. So this is the greatest person in the earth, there's nobody like that. But then slowly when you are assured, then the negativities also come out. The negative transfer. There's no worse person than this. That's another thing. So from one extreme to the other extreme the mind goes. Now, the poor teacher is supposed to understand all of these and then help them. And then, who has this? So many, that's why you curse. This one curses the other fellow and that one curses, what culture you find there. Everybody curses. Because you don't understand. why this person behaved in a certain way is not, you did not behave as the Shastra says. You don't deserve, you don't belong. But no, so that is why. So, aparityago gruhyate. They know all these things, that parityaga, sometimes you just reject them, let them go, drive them away. No, aparityago gruhyate. So anyway, then by the way, another comment is added here. Yastu himsanugrahayoho anarambhi iti gautamena sannyasi dharmo darshitaha yaccha na vyakhyana paro yatihi ityadi vachanam tata khyātilāva pūjā panditya vruddhyādi hetu pravati vishayam iti adoshaha. So sannyasis are told how they should conduct themselves. So there is Gautama Smriti which says himsa anugrahayo anārambhe. A sannyasi should not do either himsa or anugraha. And so, what is it? Natu vrutha vakyam samuccaritam kripa naishthurya mutsrujyatam. So, no kripa naishthurya. So, says there in the sadhana panchakam that the sadhaka or aspirant should be free from kripa and naishthurya. That helping somebody, and otherwise you will be, if you start doing it, then there are so many people needing help, they reach out, and so many people to naishthurya. So sometimes persons need help and the krupa, you reach out to them. Sometimes people are, the adversarial to what you are doing, then naishthurya is there. So, krupa naish utsujyatam. That one should have nothing to do with either helping people or hurting them. Otherwise you can't do what you need to do. So for a person who is a seeker, himsa anugrahayo anārambhe, you should not, he deserves, Hindu dharma, I want to protect it and therefore I will go out and then you fight with people who are opposed to that. Then that will exhaust you completely. Or you go out and other people who are you're helping Hindu dharma, so help them or something like that. That will also exhaust you. So until your work is done, you should stay away from this kind of activities. See the Gautamena sannyasi dharmo darshitaha. Or na vyakhyana paro yatihi. A sannyasi should not indulge in any vyakhyanam. Ityadi vachanam. So why is it? So that is also said. And here you are saying that you must reach out and then vyakhyana, you must teach them. So what is this? What you are saying here seems to be quite contrary to what the other sages have said. I mean, after all, Gautama is a great sage. So you must know where he is coming from. So when sage Gautama says, himsa anugrahayo anārambhe, that is meant for whom? He says, khyati, labha, puja, panditya, vruddhyādi, hetu, pravritti, vishayam. So sometimes for khyati means for fame, labha for some personal gain, puja for getting the respect or reverence, panditya vriddhi, sometimes you want to build up your scholarship. So many simple these agendas may be still there in the mind of a sannyasi also, because this process is not yet complete. So until everything in the mind is resolved, still the desire for khyati may be there, labha may be there, puja may be there, panditya vriddhi. So you keep on, this text is finished, another text is, so panditya vriddhi. So all this pravritti, they may prompt you to do vyakhyanam or himsa anugraha for khyati or labha or puja. So if these are the prompting factors which are usually there, therefore it is said that stay away from himsa and anugraha, kripa or naishthurya, or or stay away from discourses and everything. Meaning finish your work. Otherwise, these samskaras are always there. There is always because so far we have grown into this world and we have grown or raised in the people who have value for this. From childhood we are in a society, in the family and society where there is value for khyati, for fame, labha, always for personal gain, puja, for getting respect from others, panditya, for scholarship. So we know these things are all respected. So we have also grown valuing these things. And of course the self-knowledge is valuable, but these values are not gone, these are all acquired values. And therefore at some point in time they may dictate what you do or control what you do, and therefore some of the activities are forbidden. Don't bother about helping people or hurting them. That's none of your business. Nobody is hurting society. Let somebody else take care. Akhandanji say, you don't become a judge of everybody. And that is given to judges and given to police. There are people to do these things. So you don't go out and do that. You don't I'll straighten that fellow. None of your business. He is wrong. That's none of your business to judge also. There are people appointed to do that. You stay away. So sometimes you want to straighten things out, sometimes you want to teach them and guide them. He says there are people to do that. You don't have to do that. Or vyakhyanam, because then, so is that all khyati, labha, puja, etc. can be there always. So all these kind of, one may not even know that one is being in fact prompted by or motivated by these hidden agendas. Therefore, stay away. So that's what he said. But here the author is saying quite opposite. So therefore, the Tikakara here gave the explanation that what sage Gautama has said is for the immature people who are not mature enough. And therefore it is quite possible that they may get distracted by some hidden agenda, and therefore they may be distracted from their main purpose, and all these things will, take away the time and energy. So don't do this. But for the person who is now completed, for them that person is free now for helping, if the help is needed. So there is a person who is mature and person who is not mature enough. Different rules are there. So which rule is meant for whom is what we have to understand. That's what the Tikakara pointed out. And finally, Sampannaha iti purokta gunahi adhyata uchyate. So Sampanna purokta gunahi means what? Vahapoha grahana dharana shamadhamadaya anugraha adi. So adhyata means what? Possessing abundant. Everybody possesses this, by the way. Everybody is always a measure of uha and apoha and graha and dharana. Nobody is devoid of that. But teacher must possess what? Adhyata. He must possess them abundantly. Not just possess them, but adhyata uchyate. Adhya means one who is wealthy. Means that possess the wealth of these. The one should possess them abundantly. That's what is meant by the word sampanna. So, sampanna is possessed of, not only possessed, but abundantly possessing all these virtues. That's what a teacher is expected to have. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।